I forgot what month it is. We're doing our May wrap up. Oh my god, if that's not a reflection of how weird things are right now, I don't know what is. Yes, we're doing a wrap up of all the books that I read in May, and guys, I actually did surprisingly well this month. I'm kind of a little proud of myself. So I'm going to dive into it. Varied books here. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so first up, top of the pile, we have Stephen King's If It Bleeds. I've already done a deep dive review video of this. I will put the link in here somewhere in the video, but also down below if you want to check that out. But essentially it's four long short stories by Stephen King, which cover everything from kind of like crime to more straightforward horror, and there's even some like yummy little feels in there. I really enjoyed this book so much, so check out my deep dive for the full review on that. I would say that Rat was probably my least favourite story, and then I really enjoyed the first two, which is one's called like The Life of Chuck and the other one is Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Those were my two favourite. Rat was my least favourite, but it was still good, so really enjoyed that. Recommend it. Check out my full review if you're thinking about buying it. Okay, next up is one that was kindly sent to me to read by the author. It's called The Dark Book of Gwenna Luna by Guenther Primig, and this is about a girl called Gwenna Luna who has gone to a therapist's office, and she is telling him about 6 of her dreams. She's a witch, and she says that she needs to tell this psychiatrist about these dreams because she wants to be able to save someone. And the 6 dreams are, it's sort of like a collection of short stories, and each of the dreams is a different short story. I loved this book. I flat out loved this book. I thought every single one of the stories was exceptional. I liked the way that he tied it together with this concept of this witch coming into a psychiatrist's office, telling him about her dreams, showing him her dreams through magic. There are stories in this. We've got everything from a child-eating giant who lives in the woods, ghosts haunting a laboratory, a valley of the undead, a magical book, and Jack the Ripper's Escape from Hell, which was my personal favourite of all the stories. 5 out of 5 all day long. I cannot recommend this book enough. So definitely, like, this is probably my favourite of the month, and I include Stephen King in that. I really, really enjoyed this book. Next up, as part of my Gothic horror read-along, this month we were reading Edgar Allan Poe. The only story that I put on the list that was the sort of main one was The Telltale Heart, because that's my personal favourite. But apart from that, it was just about reading around. He's got so many different works, so it's up to you if you want to concentrate more on his poetry or his short stories. I went for this edition here. Oh, this is an Ethereal Publishing edition, which they kindly sent me, and I'm obsessed with it. It's like one of my favourite books I own now. What can I say about Edgar Allan Poe? He's one of my favourite authors of all time. He is the king of the traditional Gothic horror. He has an amazing way with words and sets scenes perfectly. I love Edgar Allan Poe. I will go on and on about him forever. Read him. Read The Telltale Heart in particular. It's my favourite. Just, oh, really great author. So 3 5 out of 5 so far. I'm doing well. Okay, on to the not 5 out of 5. So I got 2 paid campaigns this month with Amazon Publishing on my Instagram, where they paid me to feature a book on my page, and I, in order to do that, read the book so that I can start a conversation about it. And just to clarify, I was paid to feature it on my Instagram and discuss the book there. This isn't paid, this is just my honest opinion. So there were 2 books. The first one was called Hard Target by J.B.Turner. This is a book in a series where all of the titles have like hard in them, like Hard Target, Hard Day, Hard something. Kind of reminds me of Castle, the TV show Castle. His main character is called Derek Storm, and all of his books have something to do with a storm in them. Anyway, it's not the type of book that I would normally read, but when I get these opportunities, these paid opportunities, or when people offer to send their books to me for free, I do think that it's a good opportunity to read outside my comfort zone. I think it's always good to try new things, because you never know, you might discover a new author or a new genre that you're interested in. So this was very much like an action kind of book, you know, your sort of stereotypical one with your guys with a gun on the cover. It's about a hacker who his life is at risk because of a file that was sent to him by a friend who's now dead, and he asks his friend who he's worked for in the past on cases, an ex FBI agent who's now kind of like a freelance detective, to help him. This freelance detective, they work together to discover that the file relates to an assassination attempt on another individual, and they all kind of have to band together to try to stop some very powerful people with some very big connections from killing the target, and all of them in the process. It's sort of like a action kind of movie, but in a book. I did actually enjoy it. It's not, as I said, it's not the type of book that I would normally buy, and I don't want to mark it down for that. But I did enjoy it. It kind of reminded me of something that would be a really great Tom Cruise movie. Do you know what I mean? And for some reason, the whole time I pictured Tom Cruise as the main character. But no, it is. It's, if you're into like action, if you're into kind of like government cover-up conspiracy type situations, if you're into like, you know, FBI detective novels, that kind of thing, then this is a read for you. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5, which means it's worth reading if it's your cup of tea, basically, is what I'm saying. It wasn't a bad book, it just wasn't for me. The second book for another campaign that I got, this was called The House Guest by Mark Edwards. This one was a little bit more me. It is a kind of dark psychological thriller about a British couple staying at a friend's house in New York, house sitting for them, because they have work there. And one night during a storm, this girl shows up, says she's a friend of the people who live there, who they're house sitting for, that they told her she could come over any time. They believe her, let her into their lives, and immediately regret it. I don't want to have any spoilers for you guys, but she has connections to some weird stuff. They were targeted. This is, before you know it, escalates very quickly. There is a lot of murder. There is a lot of like covering up and things like that. It's a really fun read. I would give it probably 3.5 out of 5. Again, it's not my usual genre, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was very well written and good pacing to it. So there was a point where I kind of had to find out what happened towards the end. So yeah. Then we also had some audiobooks. When I'm putting my daughter to bed every month, I wish I didn't have to put her to bed as much. Actually, no, I really like it when she goes to bed. I play an audiobook. She likes to fall asleep to listening to something. So we have been listening to Alice in Wonderland and Anne of Green Gables. So we've listened to those 2 audiobooks recently. They're both from Audible. The Anne of Green Gables was read by Rachel McAdams. I loved her reading it. I haven't read Anne of Green Gables since I was a child, but it is a classic. Everybody knows it. It's so good. It's about Anne, the little orphan girl who gets adopted by this family, and about her kind of adventures in her small town in Canada. And it's very wholesome and it's just lovely, and I really enjoyed it. And Rachel McAdams brought it brilliantly to life. Like, I loved listening to her voice. She was cast, is that the right word? Cast perfectly? Like you cast an actor, do you cast a voice actor? Yeah, okay, she was cast perfectly to read it, and she just did a wonderful job. Then we had Alice in Wonderland again. I haven't read that in a really long time, but it was one of my favourite books growing up, it and Alice Through the Looking Glass, which is what we're listening to at the minute. And it's read by Scarlett Johansson on Audible. I did really like listening to her, but I just didn't think she had as good, like, she wasn't as smooth to listen to as Rachel McAdams. I preferred Rachel McAdams, but Scarlett Johansson did do an excellent job of bringing Alice to life, and my daughter loved both stories, so both of those automatically going to get 5 out of 5 anyway, you know, because they're just like favourites from my childhood. So yeah, what's that? So that's like 3 physical books, 2 ebooks, and 2 audiobooks. That's pretty good. I'm impressed with myself here. I will put links down below, so if you want to purchase any of those books, you can, and I'll also put the link for the If It Bleeds deep dive review, so you can check it out. But that's me for now, guys. If you could subscribe to my channel, I would very, very much appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.